Is your authentic self worth expressing? Is it worthwhile being you? Is anything wrong with yourself that needs to be improved or fixed before it becomes worthy? Can you currently say that you are the best version of yourself? If you practice deceit, these questions will never receive satisfying answers. As we've seen, deceit comes with the belief that who we are inherently is not valuable, that we are wrong in some way. When this is our starting point, we can always find something to be ashamed of, something to support the notion that we are not worthy. That deceit-based inclination is founded on something real. There is truth to the notion that we are worthless, that we are nothing, but the deceiver has profoundly misunderstood the issue. The idea that we are not inherently valuable generally comes from our interpretation of our parents' behavior in childhood. We know that attention is given to those things we value. I'm not staring at my phone as I type this because I currently value this essay more than my phone. We live among the many, where divinity's light shines through this and that, you and I alike, and our attention is therefore split. The young deceiver does not realize this, and takes their parents' lack of attention to mean they are not valuable, and must become so. When we identify with the ego, this small piece of who we really are, the flower on the tree or the wave of an ocean, as the previous video put it, we do make ourselves less valuable. We make our value relative, subject to losses and gains. As the piece of reality writing this essay, I will not always be valued by other pieces of reality, and there are far more pieces that don't value me than those who do. The deceiver knows, however, on some deep level that they hold infinite value, and this sense misrecognized is what drives many to attain fame and success, to have some material approximation of that infinite recognition. When identified with this ego, with this distinct flesh and blood image, holy law and harmony are obscured. It's not obvious to us that all events are revealing reality's truth, goodness, and beauty, nor is it obvious that all events are moving together as one for that purpose. Without those perspectives, hope with a capital H is not accessible, and we become our own law, our own harmony, and our own hope. We are left as lone actors, responsible for making things happen, bringing about goodness by our own efforts, and we must shape our identities to act harmoniously toward that end, denying or hiding any aspects that contradict our ideas of goodness. We also find ourselves in competition with other lone actors, also seeking to be that all-valuable embodiment of God's light. Holy hope is then replaced with vanity, which is a counterfeit hope, sustained by our ability to become the image of goodness or value we've attained from the world. As we've alluded to, this effort is poised for disappointment, as there are far more ways to fail this game than there are to win, and the game assumes from the get-go that we are not valuable, that the value we desire is always out of reach. So what's the key to truly feeling valuable? What's the key to a hope that doesn't disappoint? What do we do about this? That, of course, is the problem and the solution. You can't do anything. While we do act in this world, we never do so on our own. If holy harmony accurately describes reality, such separate action is impossible. Our individual actions are always part of that one harmonious act, revealing reality in every moment. We cannot act on reality from some place outside of it. To challenge the idea of separate doers, we merely have to acknowledge all the factors involved in our behavior. Do you produce the air that fills your lungs? Did you create the language you use to think or communicate with others? Did you give birth to yourself? The myth of the self-made man only makes sense if we ignore most of the things that have made him. And if we're trying to find where we end and someone else begins to neatly allot credit for actions, we quickly run into trouble. Are we as individuals responsible for the culture we grow up in? For how others fight or cooperate with us? For illnesses or acts of nature that befall us? The answer is yes and no. While these matters could be debated endlessly, the easiest conclusion is that we are not atomic individuals bumping into each other in an empty space, but that we are all part of a continuous flow, blending with each other in ways that are hard to parse and impossible to avoid. Vanity becomes an attractive alternative to hope when the way our lives flow does not appeal to our egos. When we believe a lack of attention from this or that person speaks to our inherent value, that lack of attention understandably pains us, and we feel as though something needs to change. When we narrow our identities to that little blip of action, that single flower on the tree being overlooked in favor of some other flower, we naturally notice a problem. A lack of value in our identity that results not from a lack of positive attention, but from our own moving away from our fuller selves. That moving away creates the action space that deceivers occupy, striving to better themselves, to become something of value. The striving is constant for those who prioritize vanity. To be still is to risk losing the hope they have in themselves to become, to cross that action space and return to value. Stillness also risks revealing the helplessness they feel as individual actors attempting to acquire infinite value through finite means. Once again, we see the results of prioritizing the ego's preferences above reality. For the deceiver to have the value they desire, their personal, conditioned sense of value must give way to the value inherent in reality, the truth, goodness, and beauty always available to those with eyes to see it. The deceiver's painful sense of helplessness, the inability to shape themselves in accordance with the ego's values, must also be confronted, as this sense covers over that truly fulfilling sense of becoming that's offered by holy law and holy harmony. It's when we're able to accept even our worst failures, our most shameful moments, as part of that lawful and harmonious unfoldment, that we gain access to the hope beyond disappointment. This doesn't remove the pain those experiences may bring, but it does bring a lightness that allows us to live fully in the midst of those experiences. It also brings an optimism that makes continued action truly worthwhile. Life goes on, unfoldment continues, but holy hope does not require any particular outcome or decision for you or life to be worthy, to be fully valuable. For this reason, you can trust the flow in its entirety. You can fully accept yourself as you are. You can stop striving.